Well, when we talk about creative visualization, I can kind of imagine it on two levels. One level, which I think would be very understandable for people, is like a blueprint. You have a blueprint, you build a house. You have an idea before you make the blueprint even. And so it's the way we plan our lives. But there's another level, I think, that's going on, which is more parapsychological in a way. It's as if when you visualize something, you can almost like attract it to you magnetically, as if it sends out some sort of a resonance into this world of energy and draws it there. And you apparently really are dealing with that on both levels.
Well, there's the active and the receptive principles, the male and female energies that exist in everything, and that's true of visualization as well. You know, one aspect of visualization is where you think about what you want, and you set a goal, and you sort of set out to create it. And you put energy out to move toward your goal. And another aspect of it is where you really listen inside of yourself and you receive whatever images or thoughts or intuitive feelings that come from your inner self, and you sort of allow yourself to attract and receive. And they're both important.
I suppose there's really a delicate balance when you're planning your life, because if visualization works as well as people claim that it does, you have to be careful what you visualize.
Well, I don't worry about that, because your higher self, your higher intelligence within you is in charge of the whole process. So it's not like you're going to go out and visualize something that's really, really wrong for you. Now, sometimes people do have an experience of visualizing something they think they want, getting it, and realizing, well, this didn't work for me.
That's the classic mythology, you know, the story of the three wishes. Each one is worse than the next, until finally you have to wish to undo the
and
previous.
Of course, yeah, the point of all of that is that it's not the things in life that matter. You know, when I first learned about visualization, I thought, well, great, you know, now I can create everything I want. And I mean, once I became convinced, it took me a while to become convinced that it was effective, because I was quite skeptical at first, but as I started to use it and I realized, gee, this really does work, I thought, well, you know, okay, so now I can have what I want in my life, which is true, but of course the point is not to get the stuff, because you can get everything out there and you're still not happy. The source of happiness comes from being connected to the higher self or the spiritual self within us. So, you know, you can visualize money and cars and new jobs and new houses and all sorts of things, and you can probably manifest them if that's what you really want and need in your life. But you're, of course, going to discover in the process that what really makes you happy is the fact that you discover that you're a creative being. That's the joy. That's the fulfillment in the process. So as long as people are still hung up on the externals, they create a lot of disappointment for themselves. They either can't manifest what they want, or they manifest it and discover that it still doesn't bring them happiness. And you know, sometimes you have to go through that for a while. But eventually what it does, for what it did for me, is it takes you back to a sense of the process itself is what's really exciting. The process of creation that we're doing every minute.
Let's talk about the process a little more. Can we break it down for people who are unfamiliar with these terms? How does one begin consciously practicing creative visualization?
Well, there's some simple techniques. The main technique is learning how to relax, which is a big one for a lot of us in this society. So, you know, I usually teach people some very simple kinds of relaxation and meditation techniques. You know, just close your eyes, take a few deep breaths, relax your body. And sometimes I encourage people to just lie down and put on some soft music or whatever can help you to relax, or some, you know, traditional breathing techniques, whatever. And so the first step is just to relax your body, relax your mind, let yourself drop into a kind of quieter, deeper level of consciousness, which puts you more in touch with your intuitive or creative self. And after that, the basic technique of visualization is to create an experience within yourself of whatever it is that you want. And that can be an external thing or an internal thing. I mean, in other words, you could visualize or imagine yourself in your new house or your new job. Or you could simply visualize or imagine yourself feeling self-confident, or feeling very creative, or learning how to express your feelings more directly, or anything that's important to you.
And it could be an internal state as well.
Anything. Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, it could be a state of enlightenment or something of
Sure.
that sort. I don't know how you quite visualize that, but I imagine
Well, whatever
there are
it means
ways.
to you. I mean, what enlightenment means to me is just completely loving and accepting myself as I am and enjoying myself moment by moment.
How do you visualize that?
Well, I just imagine, you know, what it would be like to go through my day feeling good about myself, not judging myself, you know, but loving and appreciating myself, being very spontaneous. It's kind of a childlike state, you know, being very spontaneous and just doing what you love to do and enjoying yourself.
And so you might
feeling, and if you don't feel, if you feel sad, you feel sad. If you feel happy, you feel happy.
So you could think of it as almost like a fantasy that
Yes.
someone is having.
Visualization and fantasy are very closely connected. The only thing about fantasy is that we usually tell ourselves that our fantasies are impossible. You know, oh, that's just a fantasy. And one of the first things I do with people in using visualization is I start encouraging them to fantasize and to believe that there's the possibility that their fantasies might be true, or at least that they always contain a kernel of truth in them.
One of the rules or the guidelines that many traditions express and that you mentioned is to visualize this as if it's already happening.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Put it into the present.
Yeah, the idea of visualization is to create an internal reality which then tends to attract that to you externally. So if I can have a sense of feeling, like I said, very good about myself as I go through the day, there's a chance then that later on, as I'm going through my day, I'll just kind of click into that state and remember that. It doesn't mean it's absolutely going to happen from then on, but there's a greater chance that I will start to remember
You're
that.
increasing your likelihood, at least.
Yeah.